It's great to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
So let's begin our journey into your life by asking you about something I know we're getting tired of, which is COVID, but it was a big deal. It changed
Sure.
so many things. How did you survive the pandemic, and how has it changed the way that you do things now?
Yeah, it's interesting. I really got active on LinkedIn kind of right before COVID hit. I think I started right in February, like the early days of February in 2020. So kind of right before I think everything went down at the end of February or whatever. And there was just a rush. But for me, you know, it changed a lot for me because I was getting into LinkedIn, and then I had a job that was kind of a door-to-door interview thing. It is a little complicated. I love it because I got to travel around to different states and visit places, and the entire company got laid off. So because you couldn't do that anymore with COVID. So everyone got laid off, and we're just like, what will we do? So I had to scramble for a while and just kind of find work while I was building up my business. But that was kind of a bit of a rocky start for me. I think it was a rocky start, a rocky kind of middle point for a lot of other people, and a huge wave of people got onto LinkedIn and other social media sites, started doing kind of the influencer thing or the branding thing, and it's changed everything since then. Yeah,
So let's get to the heart and soul of what you do on a daily basis here in 2024. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders at career day, and one of the kids is like, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you
yep.
answer them?
So I help founders and teams elevate their LinkedIn for long-term growth in 6 weeks.
So, what did you want to be in the third grade? What was your dream?
Oh, in the third grade. I don't know. I don't know what I wanted to be in the third grade. When I was a kindergartner, I wanted to be a dinosaur. That was, I did not know that wasn't possible. So I was confident. Yeah.
I love that answer. So, how did we get here? Take me back to where you were born and raised, and what were the seeds of technology and growth and helping entrepreneurs and businesses? How did this evolve into you?
Sure. Well, I'm from Houston originally, fourth generation. My family's been there forever. We came in through the Galveston port over 100 years ago now. And my father had his own business. He still does. It's an educational bookstore that he's owned for over 25 years now. So I got started in that along with all of my brothers and sisters. I'm one of 8 children. When I was very young, just kind of running the cashier. When you're 9 years old, you get a few confused looks and people saying, "Oh, you shouldn't be working your kids." But it was a lot of fun for us to help our dad run the store and just get to see kind of, even though it's a very different business than what I do now, the core principles of customer service and just, okay, this is how you run a business, this is how you treat people. And when I had a tumultuous time in my 20s. I didn't know what to do. I went to a few different colleges, never graduated, kind of bounced around from different blue collar jobs and tried, my own little businesses from time to time that never really took off. And I used to be really hard on myself for that time. But looking back, I got to try a lot of different things and I had fun. And I was always broke, but I was always broke. But it was a time to kind of explore. And then a few years ago, I had a couple of my brothers that said, "Hey, Sam, you should really look into this LinkedIn thing." I had been doing a little bit of social media on some other platforms. And I said, "I don't know what I'm going to do on LinkedIn. I come from a blue collar background. I've never had a corporate job in my whole life. So I don't know what I would do here." And I thought, well, let me just do this one thing where I'm going to learn the platform as best I can. And then I'm going to try to be as encouraging to as many people as I can. And little did I know that was the best kind of strategy I could have possibly chosen. And that's what I encourage a lot of people to do now. And it caught the attention of some different people early on. I got to work with Justin Welsh, kind of in my first, Justin and Jennifer Welsh, my first few months of posting, helping them with their community. And then it just kind of kept rolling from there. Having my own little kind of LinkedIn consulting practice, even though I knew how to do the LinkedIn stuff, did not know how to run a business. but that came with time. And then eventually, I guess I was more or less scouted by acquisition.com and the Hormozis. I still had to go through the interview process and everything. It's really interesting. It's kind of a long story of how that all panned out, but I've just been very fortunate. It's one of those things where sometimes it's hard for me to be in an interview because I don't usually brag on myself too
Sure.
much. In fact, my friends are like, Sam, you've worked with all these amazing people. You really need to just be shouting this from the rooftops. I'm
Uh,
like, but I've got to build my own brand in addition to saying, oh, well, I've worked with these famous people, so that's why you should hire me. That's not a good enough reason.
yeah.
But that's a long answer to your question.
Yeah,
Hopefully, you
no.
can bring us back to the rails here.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. So I want to know who's been that hero for you, that inspiration for you in your life?
I really appreciate my dad. Going back to talking about the business, we had some hard times with the store. We were in Houston. Houston floods a lot,
Yeah.
and so we were in our own little business. He worked so hard. He was a CPA, so he ran his own CPA business, and then at the same time he was building this bookstore. So he was working 60, 70, 80 hours a week, and there's we had two different times where the store flooded, and because the area we were in, we couldn't get flood insurance, and it wiped out a huge kind of chunk of our inventory, 20-25% of all of our inventory. The second time it happened, it almost broke us to the point where it's like, okay, we just don't know if we can come back from this. And thankfully the whole kind of community that our customers stepped in and volunteered and helped us out, and we were able to grow from there. But you know, I think some dads, they see like, oh, I'm working all these hours, my kids are going to hold it against me. We always knew, at least I always knew as a kid, this was temporary. My dad was working really hard for his dreams, and I never held it against him that he was doing that. And as long uh, as long as somebody, if you're working yourself to death and there's no end in sight, then you've probably got kind of the wrong strategy, right? And you're more or less turning your wheels. But if you could have the short, kind of intense moments where you're like, I'm just going to go all in, and sometimes that might be a year or two, a few months, something like that. But yeah, I'd definitely say my dad. And there's a lot of amazing people on LinkedIn. I really admire Justin Welsh. I did a project um, a few years ago where I went through and I said, I'm going to go through and kind of manually count how many times all of these big LinkedIn creators had to post before they made it, right? Quote unquote. And I went through and Justin Welsh was on that list along with a lot of other people. And people had to post a few hundred times often before they ever had a post that even got 100 likes. So there's this perception of like, oh, these people became an overnight success, and they didn't. And it was just through a lot of hard work. And I've posted on LinkedIn myself probably around 1,000 times. I once posted for 550 days straight. So you get some consistency and some persistency, as I like to call it, because if you're consistent for a year or two and then you leave, well, what good was that?
Yeah.
You got to stick around. It's the long game.
Yeah, for sure. So what's your motivation every day to do this work that you do? You're obviously helping and elevating your clients, but you have to evolve as a human yourself. What is that collective gumption for you?
Yeah, I mean, one part of it is that I I really like to take on a lot of different kind of projects and explore different things. And sometimes that's hard to do in a regular job. I think you can find jobs that let you do that. But more often than not, it's kind of, hey, we have this square peg, we need you to fit into it. You can't be you can't be round and do, that's funny, fat joke.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't
Yeah.
be the round peg and fit in where you need to be. So I have a little bit of a trouble with that. So I'm like, okay, well, I kind of need to work for myself. My dad was the same way, right? And but the other part of it is that I just really like, I was totally random. I was in the grocery store yesterday, and I do this. And if you go to my LinkedIn profile, one of my little lines on my headline is "Raging Extrovert." So I will strike up a conversation with people anywhere. I was literally just talking to the guy in the frozen food section. I was like, hey, how's it going? How's your day doing? What did you do? It's like, if you could do anything, what would your dream job be? And so for a lot of people, their dream job is to own their own business. And it's just, there's no greater feeling than helping somebody achieve their own goals. It's like a drug.
Yeah.
You meet with someone, you help them do what they've been planning on doing, what wanting to do. One of the issues with modern day kind of life is that it's so segmented into different things. It used to be there was no internet, you had a business, you hung a sign outside your door, and people in the community kind of knew what you were doing. And maybe you could run a newspaper ad in the local newspaper every once in a while, or get something on the local radio station. But there weren't even that many options for a small business to even advertise themselves, and a lot of stuff just went by word of mouth. And now everyone feels like they have to be their own marketer. And it's not a skill that everyone has, because they're brilliant at what they do in their business. And then they're thinking, okay, well, how do I get this out to enough people, especially with so much competition? Because you're not competing against one or two other businesses in your town. You're competing against 10,000 other businesses that are on the internet. So that's really confusing for a lot of people to go through. And it's really frustrating. And so being able to come in and say, hey, let me show you how some of the basics of LinkedIn works, how you can advertise your business there, how you can stand out and make and get customers. It's pretty satisfying.
So, of all of these things that you've accomplished in your life, what are you the proudest of?
That's a really good question. I think I'm proudest that I'm still with it,
Yeah.
because I never tried anything for more than a year and a half or something before. And I've been on LinkedIn. I'm 4.5 years into a 10-year commitment to LinkedIn. 4.5 years ago, I said, this platform, this is going to take me places. And I said, I'm gonna be here for 10 years, and I'm gonna post regularly. I'm gonna be involved in the community, and I'm gonna grow a business. And I had quite a few challenges as far as doing that, kind of in the beginning, not the posting side, but learning the business side. That took some time, and now I'm here, and it's growing, and it's just nice. Instead of just kind of having to get out there and just wonder, okay, where's my next customer coming from? I had a friend this morning, hey, I refer you to this person, and I've had I have quite a few people reach out. That's the power of a personal brand, is that it's working for you overnight. Organic media is amazing
Yeah.
because it just keeps working for you. You can be sleeping and people are watching your videos, they're reading your posts, they're wanting to work with you. And as long as you have, I think this is key, as long as you have a really clear way for people to kind of get in touch with you, to know how to work with you, that's important. Because what I struggled with, and what I think a lot of people struggle with on LinkedIn, is that they're kind of known for something on LinkedIn, but they don't have a good offer with that and a super clear call to action that accompanies that. So I know a lot of people that are, hey, I'm kind of one of the financial guys on LinkedIn. Okay, well, I know like 1,000 financial guys. So maybe like 500 financial, experts. And so it's not enough to just kind of be known for doing something. Whoever has the clearest offer, I think, is often going to be the person who wins.
So everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, colleagues, everyone around you, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
That's a really good question, because just like you're saying, everyone has their own personal brand. So even if you have no social media, you have a brand with your family and your friends. It's your reputation, it's your values, it's your character, it's what people know that you can do. My family, I used to be a very different person than who I am now. I used to be very angry, which I think would surprise a lot of people, because overall I have a pretty bubbly attitude now.
Yeah.
And I think what really changed for me on that was just kind of growing up. I wasn't good at a lot of stuff, and I have a lot of siblings, and they were always really talented at things, and I often wasn't. I was good with people for the most part, but I didn't understand how that could really translate into anything for the most part. And a lot of it just came from myself. I just beat up on myself a lot.
Yeah.
So I grew up very angry. I would get, get into these kind of rage fits or, I don't know if that's like the right way, but just I would just be really mean for a few hours at a time. And it wasn't good. I think really, I was in Bible college for a bit and really learned about forgiveness. Um, Not that I had anything, too terrible to forgive, but everyone has issues, I think, with their parents, at some point or another, and just learning, hey, I was saying, hey, well, I just kind of need to work through this stuff. And I had a teacher's like, you really don't need um, to have to take some kind of professor or something. You don't really need to take all of this time to go through stuff. You can decide just to forgive people and move on with your life. And when I discovered that, I was like, it was kind of like this lightning bolt, just that went through me. I was like, oh, like how freeing is that? So ever since I learned that, it's like, oh, okay, well, I can forgive people just as God has forgiven me, and it's just so freeing.
Yeah.
So that's who I used to be, and then I think thankfully God was able to kind of get a hold of me and change my life in a really positive way. And once you know that, hey, nothing's that big of a deal that you can't move past it, that you can't forgive people, it changes everything.
Yeah.
It makes it so that stuff that's really has a burden on you, you think about it all the time. There's people who have offended you. They don't care. They're not focused on it. You stop thinking about it. They still have you bound in chains because you're thinking about them all the time. They don't even understand the power they have over you.
Yeah.
So if you can just get past that, then you're in a much better place. So now I think my family probably has a much better opinion of me. Now they were always gracious before, but that's a little bit of a long answer for you, but there you go.
No, that's great. I love it. So if anyone wants to reach out, hire you, learn more about what you're doing, any of the good business, where can they go?
LinkedIn for
Okay.
sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I kind of use it as my, uh, I kind of have the philosophy that it's better to have people to go to less places. Now I might get a website in the future because I do have a lot of stuff going on that I want to talk about. But if you have that kind of the funnel where people have to just keep clicking to find the final offer, it can be pretty frustrating. So I have it so that people go to my LinkedIn, they can set up a call with me right away, right from my profile. They don't need to go anywhere else. They can see exactly what I do in my about section and they can just know versus if I have a whole, setup and everything. Landing pages are great for individual events and things like that, but it can be frustrating if done the wrong way. So I try to keep it super simple, which,
Totally.
may be the lazy way to do it.
No, you're
I'll
you're the
say it's
link.
the strategy.
Yeah, you're the LinkedIn guy, so it makes total sense. Sam, this has been wonderful, fascinating. Thank you for your story. Thank you for your time, and keep on spreading the sunshine.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.